you'll have those. And when you get into the commercial property game, you're going to have to deal with lawsuits, and that's going to be part of your job as an asset manager.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should freak out when that first happens, because it's going to happen and your heart's going to race.
Yep.
But it's a part of doing this business. It really is.
Welcome back to How to Invest in Commercial Real Estate. My name is Braden. This is Brian and Joel. And today it's really just a day in the life, right? So after you close on the commercial real estate property, you've kind of got a job. I don't want to say like passive income necessarily. It's pretty passive.
After you do all that, the work's not over. There's still more.
Yeah. So quick disclaimer, this episode is fully assuming that you hired a property manager. So we're just going over what you would do if you're going to go and hire a third-party property manager. That just didn't come out right.
Yeah, you're an asset manager or a portfolio manager at this point, where you have one asset you're managing or several.
Okay. Yeah, and you've got things. You may have investors. You probably have a loan. You have all this stuff, and somebody's got to manage that. It's probably not your property management company. So today you could just define it as like what your property management company. Oh man, I just retitled the episode. What your property management company doesn't do.
All right.
Boom.
All right.
Retitling on the fly. All right. So the first one is just little stupid stuff, in my opinion. So not every day. I don't know why I said that. A couple times a month, your property manager is probably going to reach out with something, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, we may need to switch trash companies. What are your thoughts on executing contract A versus contract B? Hey, we have a tenant that's not paying maybe, or a group of tenants that's not paying. How would you like us to proceed with eviction or taking possession back of the space? It could be just little things popping up, right, that your property management company doesn't want to do. They aren't the bottom line authority. You are. You are the asset manager. The asset manager is the bottom line authority. They make the uncomfortable decisions that the property management company doesn't want to do. And I mean, for lack of a better word, sometimes shit just happens, and the asset manager is who has to deal with it.
Yeah, and another way to put that is your job is managing the manager, the management company.
Yes.
And so that's going to be the day-to-day, fielding their questions, helping them decide on issues like Braden was just talking about.
Yep.
Okay.
Another couple of big ones is just insurance and property taxes. So you can kind of set them up and put them on this auto systematic cycle, but find a good insurance agent. Insurance, in my experience, is extremely hard to bid. So find somebody that you trust, find somebody that you feel comfortable working with. But you've got to insure the property every year. It's got to renew. You've got to monitor how you're paying for it. It's common to not pay that all at once. Maybe you're financing it, maybe you're billing it back. You can have portfolios of insurance, right? I mean, insurance can be extremely complicated. Lean on your experts is all I'm trying to say. But you've got to manage them. So that's going to be a theme, right? There's a bunch of different people on your team helping you manage the asset. Somebody's got to manage all of them.
And the insurance agent will give you a few different choices on the coverages that you want, depending on deductibles that you want and certain coverages that you may not have to pay for, but you might want to.
Yeah.
So it's not too much difference than probably your home insurance or your car insurance. I mean, deciding on deductibles.
Yeah, very similar, but on a property level.
Yeah.
And just like your home and auto, you're going to get a good initial rate from somebody. And then every year they're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, it's really tough out there. Rates are going up. I tried my best, but this is the very best rate I can get you. And 2 or 3 years down the road, you're going to have to shop that because magically they're going to come in and say they did the best for you. And then 3 years later, someone else is going to be able to beat it.
Yeah.
That's just how the industry works.
Capitalism at its finest.
Yeah. So there's some management going on there. You're trying to make sure, if it's a multifamily deal, you're paying 100% of that insurance, or you and your investors are.
Yeah.
On the retail side, you are passing that on most likely to the tenants, but you want to keep that as low as possible. The lower you keep that, the higher you can get away with on the rent side. So,
yeah, and you can insure the moon. So I mean, you can go to town on that, but generally speaking, you've got to monitor it. You've got to know when to file a claim, how to file a claim, who your guy is, or a girl for that matter. I mean, just anybody. Insurance is complicated. You've got to have an insurance person. That's it.
Taxes.
Specifically property taxes.
Right. Property taxes, you're going to want to be monitoring those and challenging them if you feel like there's an ability to get the value down, the assessed value down.
Yeah, so as soon as you buy it, it gets reassessed at the new purchase price. There's no...
Not always.
No.
Not every state is different, actually, in how they assess property taxes and when they do it.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. And in Texas, it's a non-disclosure state, so it may not get assessed right away at the new purchase price because you don't have to disclose the sale price.
Okay.
Wow.
Now they can have ways to find out. I think in Arkansas, it's every like 2 to 3 years.
Okay, I did know that one.
So I mean, it's just you're going to want.
It's in arrears too.
Yeah. So you're going to want to figure that out for whatever state you're buying in and understand that tax picture and manage it effectively and protest the value when you think you can.
Yeah, because, just like you said on insurance, the treasurer, the tax man, the property tax man comes around and says, hey, that's a nice property you got there and it's looking full. It looks like you're making some money. We need some more taxes. Our school system is hurting. Our, whatever, right? And you've got to know that you can dispute that. How many people realize they can negotiate with their tax assessor?
And there are companies and attorneys that specialize in those protests, so it may be that you could hire one of them to help you.
And they work on contingency, right?
Yeah.
So they only charge you if they get you a tax reduction. I love commission contingency payments because I only pay when they perform.
Okay. Well, that's property tax, but
Property tax.
You've also got to worry about what do we call it? Income tax or
income
whatever.
tax. Yeah,
so
yeah.
You've got to manage that too, right?
Yeah, so if you're an LLC, you're filing like a Form 1065. Did I get that right? I think so.
That's right.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think it's Form 1065. It may be a different form if you're an S corp or something else. The biggest thing is somebody's got to file a tax return for the partnership. You've got to look at the operating agreement and how you're paying out dividends. You've got to look how you're distributing taxable liability or gain, for that matter. Right. So all that's going to be spelled out in your operating agreement. You give the operating agreement to the tax person. The tax person files your taxes. You're going to have a bookkeeper, right? So your management company is probably going to be your bookkeeper. They're going to take care of the day-to-day, write all the checks, keep all the books. You're going to get that at the end of the year. It's 3 reports. You're going to get a journal entry, a balance sheet, and a P&L. And then you're going to shoot that over your accountant with a closing statement, and then they're going to set it up on autopilot. And, probably stay in touch with them quarterly, accountants, when big things happen, when properties close, whether it's a buy or a sale. That relationship can be a big one because you can just have, taxes, right? You can be a pro on taxes. Like, what do they say about billionaires and taxes? Millionaires read about how to make more money. Billionaires read about how to save money on taxes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But that needs to be a big part of your plan is maximizing the tax efficiencies that real estate provides.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you say that in one? I stumbled on that for like 5 minutes, and you just said that.
So managing your investors is going to be a little bit of a part-time job.
Yeah.
They may have questions. You're going to be wanting to be getting all the financial reports out to the investors and letting them know, updating them on how the asset's going, sending their distribution checks, hopefully every quarter like you told them. So that's part of your job as an asset manager.
Yeah, keeping them informed is important. They want to know what's going on.
Yeah, do we just take people's money? No.
Yeah.
You send them out updates. You probably send them a gift. You're probably taking them out to dinner. You're maintaining the relationship. It's 100% relationship-based game.
Yeah, you want them coming back for the next deal.
Absolutely. So you need to maintain the relationship. It's a relationship just like anything else. You got to maintain it, keep it happy. You got to manage the investors and send them their money.
Some of the times we've had to deal with is lawsuits. We've been sued by tenants at multifamily properties. We've been sued by tenants at retail properties. And so
customers at retail properties?
I don't think we've been sued yet by a customer at a retail property, have we?
Somebody parked in my parking lot and had a flat tire and tried to send me a lawsuit letter.
That's true. We got threatened with a lawsuit in a Vegas property because he had his laptop stolen out of his car that he left his window down or something, and he thought we should have had security to make sure that didn't happen. So yeah, it can be that, but you'll have those, and when you get into the commercial property game, you're going to have to deal with lawsuits, and that's going to be part of your job as an asset manager.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should freak out when that first happens because it's going to happen, and your heart's going to race.
Yep.
But it's a part of doing this business. It really is.
Yep. Big warning on that. When you get into a lawsuit, you probably should contact your insurance company within a month. Just heads up. You should probably contact your insurance company within a month and just let them know because it may be something you're already paying to insure, and your insurance company has a legal team ready to fight for you and ready to go. And
they're going to cover the cost of the suit. Yeah. So
right, and why? Somebody would ask. Well, why is because they're going to be responsible for the potential damages, the lump sum that they would have to pay out to somebody because we have insurance against that. So they have a legal team to fight that battle for us to make sure that the damages they potentially pay out are as low as possible. That's why they do that.
Yeah, one time we had an apartment complex and someone sued us for an HVAC system, and we wanted to try to make it go away because we don't want big settlements on our insurance because it raises your rates. So we're like, oh, we're going to just try to handle this. Well, it didn't go away, and we didn't immediately let the insurance company know, and it almost cost us our coverage because, once you start down the road to defending yourself, then they say, well, we didn't have a chance from the beginning to post the defense that we wanted to.
Oh, right.
So really important. Yeah, if you get sued, it's not a big deal. I've been sued a bunch. It rarely amounts to anything, but that's why you have insurance and you let them handle it.
Yeah, and since we're on, we touched on insurance and lawsuits right there. All of this is negotiable. Say you have something that burns down. It's just like, a car or a home insurance. They're going to say, hey, we're going to give you $1 million. And you're going to say, politely, go to hell. I'll take 2. You know what I mean? It's a cat and mouse game constantly with lawsuits and insurance and threatening, right? People perceive you like, oh, he's got this big commercial property. He's got $1 million in his back pocket. If I just call him and complain, I'm going to get a gag order. And people do it, right? Mm-hmm. You just got to accept that for what it is and move on. But that's why you have insurance and legal teams.
My business partner has a quote when someone sues him. He just says, get in line. So doesn't worry him at all.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, you're going to negotiate lease renewals, especially on a retail deal. The management company will be giving you guidance based on their experience, but you're going to be the ultimate authority on what you're going to rent that space for and how much you're going to be able to push that rent.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that you're going to do as the asset manager. You want to try to maximize that value by increasing the rents.
Yeah, and you have some asset management or asset types like multifamily that are more management intensive when it comes to leasing. So when you have an apartment complex, the management company is going to lease all of those apartments, right? That's part of the responsibilities, right?
Yeah, you may sit down with them maybe once a month and go over strategy on how to increase occupancy or on how to push renewal rates.
Or just making sure the ask, of that apartment matches up with the net operating income you need to pay the debt and to pay the investors.
But on a day-to-day on a multifamily, you're not probably going to be getting involved if you have a third-party manager.
100%.
But it will be a strategy session with that management company to maximize rent. So,
yeah, and there's a lot of those that are in the future. In some asset classes, you're negotiating lease renewals years before they expire, and multifamily, the management company may be doing it. There's a lot of different types, but there's typically always leases, and somebody's got to renew them. You're the guy, girl, person.
Brian, what you got one?
Yeah. What about CapEx expenditures? I think that's a big one, right?
Yeah. So
you've got to decide, if there's a new roof or are you going to repair the roof if there's a leak? Did you, in your plan, were you going to increase the shrubs and just
improve landscaping.
Landscaping.
Yeah. And then parking lot repairs. Yeah. These big things, the management company may have suggestions for you, but ultimately pulling the trigger on CapEx, which is going to take capital, is going to have to come from you.
Yeah. And management companies, as far as they're paid to manage the property, and they make a compelling argument, and they say, hey, we're not paid to manage general construction. We need a construction management fee to manage the construction. So then they're charging you, 6 to 15% maybe of the construction project just so they can manage the contractor. So you can step in and do that. Yeah. You can step in and say, hey, we have this renovation. Don't worry about it. I know your job is that, but I'm going to take care of this. Yeah, right. And you can do the same thing with the lease renewals, right? So lease renewals, all this power, you can kind of give to them on their extra fees. But if you don't want to pay it, just do it.
Yeah, I think I'd want to have a lot of control over capital expenditures for sure.
Yeah, it's a very big guessing game on what needs done, when it exactly needs done, and how much you're going to pay for it. Are we going to put a Cadillac on it? Are we going to go with the Honda version? Yep. So that's a big part of managing the asset. And hopefully you've thought about what CapEx expenses you might have in the first 3 to 5 years, and you've raised or allocated money for that, so you're prepared.
Yeah. I think one of the next big things is monitoring the cash flow. Making sure everything is going according to the investment plan that you pitched your lender, yourself, your investors, everyone in the beginning. right? You projected that it made some sort of money.
Yeah, you don't want to lose control of that and then have a surprise at the end of the quarter or something. I mean, you got to really pay attention to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're creating the budget, 3 to 6 months before the year ends, and then that's kind of just painting the picture for the next year. Ideally, you hit it, you beat it, and then month over month, you're getting a report. And one of my favorite columns is just comparing against budget, right? Because I want to know how bad we sucked 6 months ago setting our budget. We should have planned for this. And you can get pretty close, especially with good asset management and good property management. But
yeah, because you're rarely going to beat your budget. What ends up happening is if everything goes according to plan, you're going to be on budget. And then what things did you not foresee, or what negatives did you have that brought you down?
Absolutely.
Well, so refinancing is another part of asset management. You may not have an asset that you refinance, but I think the asset manager's job has to always be in tune with the lending market, understanding where rates are, and if there's an opportunity to lower the rate and increase cash flow, or to increase leverage and get the investors their initial investment back. That's what you got to always be monitoring. So we've had deals where we've refied and given capital back to the investors. We've also had deals where we just lowered the interest rate and improved the cash flow. And then the cash distributions go up.
So are you refinancing with the same lender, a different lender, both?
Yeah, it's been both. You should always be shopping. And if you're getting local bank debt, typically there's not a prepay. And if you're getting 5-year money, you should not accept prepay from a local lender.
And just to clarify, that's a prepayment penalty. So if you pay off the loan before the 5 years, then they charge you a fee, 1 to 5%.
Right, and I would say steer away from that. Just tell them you don't want a prepay penalty. But if you go longer than 5 years, then you're typically going to have to pay a prepay of some kind to any lender. Local bank, Fannie, Freddie, CMBS, all of them are going to have some type of a prepay structure. So you want to limit that as much as you can. It gives you flexibility if rates move that you can take advantage of them.
Right. So we go get a loan. We buy an asset, and we plan on keeping it for 10 years. We bought this asset in Broken Arrow. It's called Redbud. We're planning on keeping it 10 years, 7-10 years, something around there. But if rates just drop through the floor in year 6, why would I go pay 4% or 5% or 6%, whatever I'm at on my current loan, when I could go get a new loan and it wouldn't cost me anything but some closing costs, and go lower the interest rate on potentially millions or tens of millions of dollars by a point? If you do that by a point, that could be 6 figures in savings just by asking, right? Because you were paying attention.
Well, and we have a loan right now that we're looking to refinance, and it has a 2% prepay current on it. But I'm going to be able to lower the rate 1.25% a year.
So when you look at the math,
so there's 8 years left on that lease or that loan. So I can earn 1.25% a year, and it only costs me 2%. So I'm making a 60% kind of a year return.
Yeah.
On that investment of 2%.
So it pays out really quickly.
Pays out in less than 2 years, and I keep making the residual after that.
Yeah.
So
I wonder from the bank's perspective if they did the math to see if the 2% prepay would be worth not lowering the rate and keeping the loan for the rest of the 8 years. And you don't have to answer that because they may be local, but I'm just saying you got to do the math.
Yeah.
It's just going to add it up, right?
Just like if you're trying to refinance your house or something, or your car or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the last deal we were negotiating basis points. So there's 100 basis points in an interest point or 1 percentage point. So I mean, you're negotiating decimal points, guys, and I think we negotiated to 4.01 or something, and it's not even 4%. The 0.01 on $5 million matters, guys, and you've got to negotiate it.
So we had a loan in Vegas on a $10 million loan, and right before we closed, interest rates spiked, and it ended up being a really bad interest rate. Well, now I could refi that at 1.3 points lower on a $10 million loan. Well, there's a serious prepay on that. I can't do anything. My hands are tied, so it's just I'm bummed. But
that's $130,000 we're bummed about.
$130,000 a year, and just for lowering the interest rate. So just everybody listening, think about that. You're in a game that can pay off seriously with the interest rate. So it's to your advantage to really work hard at this part of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I want to stress is if you're not comfortable with investing, get comfortable with the fact that when you put the money in the bank, they're investing it for you. Hey, if you don't want to do this, bro, I'll use your money and I'll invest it and make a spread on yours, because that's what they're doing. It's figure it out and do it yourself. So the bank isn't making the money, you are.
Yeah. All right. One of the last ones I think is I put on here, analyzing the market. Yeah. But it's just being astute in understanding the markets where you own assets, what's happening in those markets, what are cap rates doing, what are rents doing to where you're always in a position to maximize the value for yourself and your investors. Whether it's, hey, I'm not pushing rents high enough, I'm not keeping up with the market, or man, this market is exploding, cap rates are lowering. This is an opportune time to sell. I should take advantage and get my investors the best return possible. Yeah. So that's the last stage of being an asset manager, is analyzing the market and making sure you're being a good fiduciary for your investors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody's got to be making that decision. Ideally, you get big enough to where you're sitting on the beach in the Bahamas, maybe if you want to, and then you're going to go hire an asset manager. Big, massive commercial real estate, institutional level commercial real estate investment companies have teams, maybe 50, 100 asset managers, maybe more, Yeah,
none of this is stuff that you personally have to do, but maybe you start out doing it and then you train someone to do it and you pay them a fee to do it or a salary to do it. Yeah. And you can be in the Bahamas somewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, what your asset manager doesn't do, man, I messed it up. What your property manager doesn't do, this is all about asset management. It's pretty simple. You're managing a bunch of different specialized people. Yeah. There's not much to it. You've got to have some market knowledge. You've got to pay attention and be aware and be educated in what you're doing, obviously. But at the end of the day, you're managing the dream team. The dream team is taking care of your assets. So that's what's important. That's the day to day. Really nothing other than that. It's pretty simple.
No, just maximizing your profits, maximizing your investment.
Yeah. It seems so casual when you say that, but you want to maximize the crap out of your profits.
It does take some work, though.
Yeah, and what you focus on expands. So focus on it, pay attention to your real estate, and it'll probably do better than if you didn't focus on it. All right, that's it. Make sure to check us out on the website. It's howtoinvestincre.com. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you subscribe, you actually have to turn on notifications to get notifications. We upload every Tuesday and Friday.
And remember, if you want to look at Brian's face while we're talking, go to the YouTube channel. You can see it in person.
Yeah, you can.
All right, that's it, guys.